We are going to build this URL shortener application using Flask and MySQL database. So this is the basic application where we enter our big URLs, and when we click on short, it will give a shorter version of that. And whenever someone clicks on it, it will redirect to the original bigger version of the URL, right? So that's the use case. So for this, obviously we need Python install on your system, and along with that we will need two things, that is MySQL database, and another is tool. We will use it to interact with our MySQL database. So for database, you can download the XAMPP. It is server, which will give access to the Apache, MariaDB, and MySQL and PHP also. So it is very simple step installation. Just download the installer and double click the installation. It will start the installation. Then another is dbware. Now this is the tool which we will use to interact with our MySQL database. So again, go to downloads and click and install for your operating system. Again, very simple steps. Okay, and then once you install this, you can open this dbware. Yeah, and then on left side you can see like there will be database, right? So first you will need to create a connection. So on here left side top you can see and click on MySQL and then click next. So by default you won't have any database, so keep this section as it is. And during installation, if you have selected different password, you can enter it here. Otherwise the default options works fine. Okay, so click on test connection, it will show like connected. Yeah, so it means it is getting connected. Yeah, then click on finish. Yeah, and then open this script. You can do this using SQL editor and open SQL script. Okay, and this will open a new script. See, okay, now we will create a database, simple database structure for our application use case. So first execute this command. So you will need to type this create database URL shortener and then execute. Okay, so on left side you can see that once, so let's say you have installed it for the first time, you will not see anything here, right? Because you don't have any databases. So we just created right now this first one. So if I right click and refresh, so you can see like URL shortener is appearing here, right? Because we executed it. Then execute this second command, use URL shortener. Yeah, you can execute using this. Okay, then in this we need one table. So in the table what we need to do is, first we will have ID that will work as a primary key. Then longer version of the URL we will store it. So when user enters the URL here, we will store it in the database. Okay, and we will also generate the short code for that particular URL. So whenever someone visits that, we will check in the database that if the longer version of that URL exists or not, and we will redirect to this URL, right? And this shortcode needs to be unique, right? Because we don't want to mix two longer URL data, right? URL data. Then once this is done, so you need to execute this table create command also. Then let's remove this. So you can type here select. So before this let's go to URL shortener and refresh. And if I expand this and go to tables, and you can see like I have created this URL table. So select star from URL semicolon. So if I do execute it, you can see like blank structure is there, right? ID, long URL, and short code. Okay, then once our database setup is done, we can go to our VS Code. So create a fresh folder, yeah, and open it in the VS Code. Then go to terminal and click this new terminal. This will show up. Yeah. Then I have written some steps that you need to do. Yeah. So first we need to create a virtual environment. So for that you need to type python 3 -m vnv. So this will generate the virtual environment. Okay, once this is done, you need to activate that environment. So source vnv /bin activate. Okay, so once you activate, it will start showing up vnv on left side. Yeah, So let me delete this and start again. Yeah, okay, see, so this is how it will show. And then we need some packages to make our app work. So first is pip install Flask. Obviously we are going to build application using Flask, so we will need Flask. Then MySQL connector Python. This we will need to connect our Python code with the MySQL database. Yeah, and then hash IDs to generate the unique IDs, right? So click enter. This will start installing those packages. Yeah, so okay, see, this dbware, right, it will not automatically get connected with the MySQL database. You will first step is you will need to start the MySQL database using XAMPP, and then you can connect with this, right? Okay, so then it will work. Sorry that I forgot to mention. So I will just write the steps here, right? So maybe it will be easier, right? So installations you need to do is XAMPP, and then other one is dbware. Okay, then start XAMPP, and then start dbware, connect to db. Okay, these are the steps, then it will work, and then you can follow this VS Code tutorial. I mean, we can write code, right? Obviously. Then let's close this. So once we install all the packages and our basic structure is done, so now let's create this main file app.py. Inside this we will write our whole code. So let's save it, and we will now start writing code. So from Flask we will import some functions. So we will need Flask itself, then renderer template. So using renderer template we will render the index.html file, which will show this index file, right? Then request to create, then URL for. Then we need to import MySQL dot connector. Then from hash IDs we need to import hash IDs. Yeah, so first we will create a Flask app instance. So Flask, and then underscore name underscore. Okay, and I will also so here we need to do MySQL configuration, right? So I will write steps here, MySQL config. So db underscore config. Inside this we will store all of the things. So our host name is a localhost unless you changed it, so write that if you have changed it. Then user is root by default. Then password is nothing. So if you have done the default installation, it will be nothing. And then database. Okay, wait, this we need to cover it in the single quotes. Okay, and then it will be URL shortener. Yep. So let me just quickly check the spelling. So this, and if I go to dbware URL shortener, yeah, E is not there. Okay, so our config is done. So now we need to generate the hash ID. Hash IDs we will initialize it. Okay, so hash ID is equal to hash IDs which we imported at top, and we will have some salt value, so it will be a unique value which we will use to modify the long URL version, right? I will just enter some random key for now. Yeah, this one, and then it should generate length of 6. Yep. Then we need new function to connect to the database. So I will write here function to connect to DB, and this was initialize hash IDs with salt. Salt is basically our unique key, right? Which it will use to generate that ID. Yeah. Now to complete this database function, we will define this function. So def get underscore db connection. Yep. And this will create the connection MySQL dot connector dot connect and db underscore config, and then this will return that connection. Okay, so later we will use this in our functions. Right now we will write the definition route. So this will be home route to display the form. Okay, and at the rate app dot route, so by default, and inside this the method will be get and post. Yep. Then def home, this function will execute when someone visits this route. If request dot method is post, so basically when someone submits this form, right, so this has a method of post. So when someone submits the data, this will execute inside this block. So we will get a long URL from the form. So request dot form and long URL, and then we will create the connection here. So con equal to get db connection, and we will also create a cursor instance. So cursor equal to con dot cursor. Okay, then what we need to do, we need to insert the long URL in the database, right? So insert long URL in the DB. So cursor dot execute, we will execute the MySQL query. Very simple, like insert into URL is our table name, and inside that we want to insert in the long URL column, and values we will pass whatever we got from the form, right? So percentages dynamic string, and we got the long URL. So this is the syntax. So let's verify what we have written. Okay, then con connection dot commit, we need to commit this to the database. Then next step is we need to get the ID that last record inserted. So URL underscore ID equal to cursor dot last row ID. Yeah, so this we need to generate a unique shortcode, right? So generate unique shortcode. So short underscore code equal to, so hash IDs which we created at top, this one. So hash IDs dot encode, and we will use the URL ID itself to generate that unique code. Yeah, and then we will update the database, update record with short code for that long URL. Yep. So command is cursor dot execute, we will execute this MySQL query, update URL table, and set shortcode column equal to percentages that dynamic value. string value, and then id, where id equal to percentages, again dynamic value, and here we will pass that short code and url id. Okay, so next is we need to commit this, so con dot commit, and cursor dot close, and we will generate this short url here, request dot host url and short code, and return, we will return from this render a template, and we will render this index.html file, and we will pass this short url right to short url variable. So we can use this short url variable inside the index.html and show that dynamic url, right? So that's why. And once this is outside the post block, right, so when someone just visiting the url homepage basically, so we will show them return render template the index.html. Okay, so this is one step. So another thing is, now let's say someone is clicking on this url, this one, so they need to be redirected to the original longer version of that url, right? So for that we will write code here, so redirect from short to long url version. Yeah, so for that we need a new route, so app dot route, so it will be a dynamic code, short code, which we generated here, right? And for this we will define function here, def redirect to long url, and we will go get this shortcode. So we will create connection here, con equal to gate db connection, c reusable function I created at top, so I just made use of that, and then we will create cursor instance, con dot cursor. Now so in here, right, when someone visits the shortcode url, we need to decode that, right? So we will write here decoded value equal to hash ids, again hash ids dot decode, and the short code which is passed in the url, right? So we will pass that in this function, and we will get the decoded value, right? And so we will check here if decoded value is present. Yeah, then we will generate this url id from the decoded, so it is a first value. Yeah, and then cursor dot execute. So once we get this url id, we can fetch the longer version of that short url id from the database. So select long underscore url from url table where id is percentage string, yes, and we will pass that url id which we decoded from the url right here. Okay, so comma. Okay, so this is the syntax. Then result variable cursor dot fetch one, and then we will close this cursor dot close, and we will close the connection also. Okay, and we will see if result is there. So if we get the result, then we will return the it. So in return we just need to redirect, right? So redirect where? In the result URL, right? So result of 0. Yeah. So let's save this. So let's check our code. So reason redirect is not working is because see in here at top we did not imported it, so we need to import redirect. Okay, so it now it is not showing any warning sign. It will work now. Yeah. So let's save this, and let's say if this decoded value operation is failed, right? So we need to write for that also. So first we need to connect close this cursor thing, and then connection also, and we will return that the URL is not found, right? So that's why it is showing that error. So URL not found. And we will attach for indicating that it is not found. So now we just need to call this function. So if name is main, execute this. So app dot run in debug mode true, so we can see the loggers. Okay, so this app is almost ready, but we need one more thing, right? See, we have indicating that we will render this in index.html, so we need to do that. So first thing is we need to create this templates folder, and inside this we will create this file index.html. Now we will build UI for this simple ugly UI. Okay, so press explanation, so it will generate this temporary code. Yeah, so you don't need to type it. So what I did is I created file and then type explanation, it will show this, and click enter, it will generate this boilerplate code. So I will give some heading URL shortener, then in the body I will say h1 URL shortener app. Yeah. Then in the form, what you need to do, method, form method will post, and we need to create a label for long URL, because that's what we are going to send to the database, right? So we will say here enter your long URL, and we will give user input box of type text, which will have ID of long URL, also name of long URL. Yeah, and this will be a required field. Okay, and then we will show one button. We'll type it, make it short. Okay, and this will be of type submit. So when someone clicks on this button, it will submit the data, right? So let's save this. Now what we need to do, we will write this dynamic code. So it is kind of like PHP, right? So but here we will execute this Python code if short URL is present. Then percentage, and if so, why I'm doing this? So when we submit this using post request, right? So we get the data here in the application. See, this is main. Here we need to type colon, say small box. Okay, let's ignore that. So when we submit the form, it will come here. Yeah, so it will see that it is in the post request, so it will execute all these functions, right? and update the database value, and it will render this index.html with short URL. So basically it generated the short URL, right? So we need something Python code here to catch that short URL variable, so that's why we are writing here, right? So let's continue this code. So if we get that value, short URL value, then we will just simply show it in the p tag, URL short URL it's, and then inside this we can again show it in the a tag. So a tag is used to redirect you to the other pages. So basically to create the links, we use a tags, and then inside href value is the value which we use. So whenever someone clicks on that link, it will go to this href value. So inside this we will put that short URL which we got from our application, short URL. So whenever someone clicks on this, it will go to this short URL. Okay, and we will also type target blank. So this will basically open that URL in the new tab, and then we will show short URL. So in the whenever someone submits the longer version of URL, we will show the short URL, and when someone clicks on it, they will be redirected to the shorter version of the URL. So let's save this and run our application. So to run this application, this is very simple. You just need to type python 3 and app.py. So make sure you are in the correct folder, our application folder. So enter it. So once you enter it, it will show that running on this port. So copy this and go to browser and hit enter. Okay, so you can see that it is working. You know what, let's do some stylings maybe. So style, just a short style like input. We will just add some padding here, maybe 10 pixels, and then we have button, so maybe button padding top 10 pixels, horizontal 20 pixels. Let's save it and refresh it again. Okay, not much change, but fine. Okay, so what I will do, I will search for, let's go to Udemy. They have longer course URLs, right? So let's go here and click on any course, maybe this one. Yeah, this one has a longer URL. Copy it and go to our application and paste it and click on make it short. So it is saying your short URL is this. Yeah, so let's go to database and type this simple command, select star from the URL table and click enter. You can see, right, that the longer version of URL is stored in this long URL, and the shortcut for that is there. So if I visit browser, right, I can see it, and if I copy this link, copy link and open it in the new tab and paste it, hit enter, it will redirect me to that course only we copied URL from. See, so it means that our app is working. Yeah, so let's do this again. Let's now copy this Rust version. Okay, let's copy this and enter it in our application. Click on make it short. So it generated this. Let's click on it. So it is redirecting me to the correct version. Yeah, and obviously if I refresh this, it will show that record, right? So for this longer version, shorter version is this. Okay, then this is our overall app built using Flask and MySQL database.